have this experience? You're at a public forum and you're having a conversation with someone. You suddenly realize that they're not making eye contact with you anymore. In fact, you realize they're actually looking over your shoulder to see who else is there, who else they might have a conversation with. I assume that most of us like to think that when someone's talking to us that they're actually interested in talking with us, and that when we have this experience, the person's being a little bit rude. What might surprise you is that Abraham himself is guilty of this social faux pas. And the shoulder that he's looking over is actually God's. The portion begins, Vayera elav Adonai be'elonei Mamre. God appeared to him at the terebinths of Mamre, that is, the tall trees of Mamre. What God said to Abraham, the purpose of his visit, what Abraham's experience of God was, are unknown to us, because when Abraham sees a few strangers in his vicinity, he literally gets up from God's presence and runs over to greet them. Abraham then proceeds to fulfill the mitzvah of hachnasat orchim, of caring for the wayfarer, caring for the stranger, and he and Sarah create a veritable feast for these people. Abraham washes their feet. But what of God? One might expect that a God who demanded of Moses that he take off his shoes when he's in the divine presence might rebuke Abraham for the seeming slight of the divine. That doesn't happen. More, we might expect the rabbis to criticize Abraham, to expect him to show more deference to God's presence. And again, the rabbis themselves are silent on this issue. The answer, I believe, is offered by Rav Aaron of Karlin. And I'd like to share with you his teaching on the subject. He taught that when we turn our attention from God to tend to the needs of people, we do God's will. In other words, Abraham's running to greet the strangers was fulfilling God's will, was really honoring the Kadosh Baruch Hu. But Rav Aaron goes on and he says this: conversely, God is not pleased when we place such a great focus on God that we ignore needy human beings. In other words, the essence of true religion, the essence of Judaism, is to be so inspired by the teachings of Torah, by the message that God gives us in relationship of the Tselem Elohim, of the image of God and other people, that we are inspired to go out and serve the needs of others. If the only focus of religion is upon ourselves, then there's something wrong. In short, Abraham offers a remarkable lesson to his descendants. Ultimately, our religious life should serve as a catalyst to serve the needs of others. Our spiritual focus should take us beyond ourselves. While it might be insulting to us to have people look over our shoulders in conversation, God is not so judgmental about that if we're willing to serve the needs of others in need in our community. Shabbat Shalom. Begin